At some point in life, we've all encountered people who seem to drain our energy, challenge our patience, or even undermine our self-confidence. Maybe it was a coworker who insists on criticizing everything, a friend constantly surrounded by negativity, or even someone close to you who keeps you trapped in a cycle of conflict. This experience is universal, and dealing with such people can feel like an emotional burden that's hard to bear. But what if these difficult interactions had a deeper purpose? What could they teach us about ourselves? In Buddhism, adversities, including toxic people, are viewed as opportunities for spiritual growth. Instead of merely tolerating or avoiding these situations, we can learn to use them as tools to transform our minds and hearts. This video aims to explore how Buddhist teachings can guide us to deal with difficult people more wisely, compassionately, and balanced. We'll dive into practices that help us recognize the pain behind toxic actions, establish healthy boundaries, and cultivate inner peace even amidst challenges. This is not just a guide to managing others, but also an invitation for deep self-discovery. As we proceed, get ready to see these situations from a new perspective, one that transforms every interaction into a step forward on the path to emotional balance and freedom. In Buddhism, there is a profound understanding that suffering is a universal and inevitable experience. This perspective helps us view others' actions in a new light. When someone acts toxically, it's common to react with anger, frustration, or judgment. However, Buddhist teachings invite us to go beyond this initial reaction and recognize that negative behavior often reflects the internal suffering of that person. People who criticize, manipulate, or emotionally harm others are often dealing with deep wounds, traumas, or fears that shape their attitudes. They may be stuck in mental patterns of dissatisfaction or attachment, seeking control or negativity as a way to cope with their own pain. When we view these situations from this perspective, we can begin to replace judgment with compassion. Having compassion, however, doesn't mean accepting mistreatment or excusing harmful behavior. Instead, it's an exercise in understanding that these individuals are often acting from a place of pain and confusion. This shift in perspective can free us emotionally, as it reduces the burden of resentment and helps us avoid impulsive responses that perpetuate cycles of conflict. A practical example can illustrate this. Imagine a coworker who constantly criticizes your ideas. Instead of reacting with irritation, try considering what might be driving this behavior. Perhaps this person feels insecure about their own performance or fears not being valued. This reflection not only lessens the emotional impact of the interaction, but also creates space for a calmer, more centered approach. When we start to see the person behind their behavior, we realize that we are not obligated to carry the weight of their actions. We can choose a path of understanding, which gives us more emotional freedom and prepares us to face difficult situations with greater balance. This leads us to the next essential step, balancing compassion with self-care. While developing compassion is a powerful step, it must be balanced with self-care. Buddhism teaches us that it's impossible to offer others what we haven't cultivated within ourselves. Protecting our inner peace is an act of self-love and a compassionate practice because it prevents us from falling victim to cycles of negativity and perpetuating conflicts. Establishing clear boundaries is essential in this process. One of Buddhism's central principles is the middle way, which teaches us to avoid extremes. When dealing with toxic people, this means finding a balance between tolerating harmful behaviors and reacting with aggression. Well-defined boundaries preserve our emotional energy while signaling to others that certain attitudes are unacceptable. This practice is not just an act of self-care but also of respect for others, as it prevents them from continuing harmful behaviors unconsciously. The way we communicate these boundaries is crucial. Inspired by Buddhism, we can adopt compassionate communication, which combines clarity, firmness, and kindness. For example, if someone frequently makes negative comments, you might say, "I understand that you might be going through difficult times, but these comments have been affecting me. I'd appreciate it if we could avoid this kind of conversation." This type of response sets a healthy barrier without resorting to attacks or judgments. Additionally, there are simple practices that help protect our emotional energy in challenging situations. Visualizing yourself surrounded by a protective light, for instance, can be an effective tool for creating a safe mental space. Practicing mindful breathing before responding to a provocation helps prevent impulsive reactions and enables wiser actions. In more extreme cases, temporarily stepping away is also a valid form of self-care. When we prioritize our peace and well-being, we send a clear message, to ourselves and to the world, that we deserve to live in balance. Buddhism reminds us that cultivating compassion for others begins with compassion for ourselves. By setting boundaries, we create a more harmonious inner space where true compassion can flourish. One of Buddhism's most profound teachings is the concept of non-attachment. It invites us to let go of rigid expectations and emotions that keep us trapped in cycles of suffering. When dealing with toxic people, attachment can manifest in various ways: the need for them to change, the expectation that they treat us a certain way, or even the desire for revenge or to prove something. These emotional ties not only keep us bound to others' behavior, but also drain our inner peace. Non-attachment doesn't mean indifference. It's about releasing unrealistic expectations and negative emotions that create more suffering. When we expect a toxic person to change or cling to ideas about how they should behave, we place ourselves in a vulnerable position for disappointment. Buddhism teaches that all things, including people and their actions, are impermanent and beyond our control. Practicing non-attachment begins with accepting that we cannot change others, only our own responses. This shift in perspective frees us from trying to control the uncontrollable. For example, if a family member constantly makes critical remarks, attachment might lead us to argue or try to convince them to act differently. Non-attachment, on the other hand, allows us to recognize that this person's behavior is a reflection of themselves, not of who we are. A powerful practice for cultivating detachment is reflecting on impermanence. In moments of conflict, ask yourself, will this feeling or situation last forever? Is it worth carrying this weight? Often, recognizing the transience of things helps us release emotions that hold us back. By letting go of expectations and negativity, we create space for greater emotional freedom. We are no longer at the mercy of others' actions and can maintain our peace even in challenging situations. Non-attachment doesn't eliminate challenges, but transforms how we face them, allowing us to act with clarity and serenity. In Buddhism, meditation is a central practice for cultivating emotional balance and mental clarity. When dealing with toxic people, meditation and mindfulness become indispensable tools for protecting ourselves from impulsive reactions and strengthening our resilience. These methods help us create an inner space where we can observe situations calmly rather than being swept away by emotional storms. Meditation teaches us to observe our thoughts and feelings without identifying with them. When confronted by someone who provokes or tests us, our natural tendency may be to react immediately. This often leads to conflict or emotional baggage that lingers afterward. Regular meditation practice equips us with the ability to pause and respond more consciously. Furthermore, meditating regularly enhances our ability to handle challenging situations. During meditation, we can visualize the toxic person in front of us and send intentions of peace and compassion toward them. This practice not only transforms our perception of others, but also reduces the impact such interactions have on us. By incorporating mindfulness and meditation into our daily lives, we build an inner shield that protects us from others' negativity. This doesn't mean we stop feeling or caring, but rather that we gain the ability to navigate emotions with more ease and control. This internal transformation prepares us to face challenges more constructively and brings us closer to a state of lasting balance. In Buddhism, there is a profound teaching about how adversities can be transformed into opportunities for growth. This practice, known as transforming poison into medicine, invites us to see challenges as tools for emotional and spiritual development. When dealing with toxic people, each difficult interaction can become an opportunity to practice patience, compassion, and self-awareness. A toxic person's behavior may evoke emotions like anger, frustration, or sadness. These emotions, though uncomfortable, act as mirrors reflecting aspects of ourselves that need attention. For instance, if someone constantly tests your patience, it might signal that this quality still needs strengthening within you. Viewing such moments as opportunities allows us to grow rather than be consumed by conflict. An inspiring story that illustrates this principle is about a monk living in a monastery with a particularly difficult fellow monk. This person was known for provoking others and causing constant tension. Many wanted him to leave, but the master of the monastery kept him there intentionally. When asked why, the master replied, "He is my greatest teacher. Thanks to him, I practice patience every day." This perspective teaches us that even the most challenging interactions can be valuable. We can use these moments to reflect on our own reactions and develop virtues such as tolerance and humility. This doesn't mean accepting abuse or neglecting our boundaries, but recognizing that how we choose to respond to these situations shapes who we become. Transforming poison into medicine is a powerful act of emotional freedom. It allows us to reframe suffering and cultivate inner strength amidst challenges. By adopting this practice, we begin to see that the difficult people in our lives are not obstacles but teachers who help us navigate our spiritual path with greater wisdom and resilience. Anger and judgment are like invisible chains that bind us to the people and situations causing us pain. In Buddhism, these emotions are seen as mental poisons that pull us away from inner peace. Freeing ourselves from them is an act of personal liberation, allowing us to walk through life with greater lightness and clarity. When we feel anger towards someone, we often believe we are punishing them for their actions. However, as the Buddhist teaching goes, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. We are the ones who get burned. Anger consumes us from within, clouding our ability to think and act wisely. Judgment, on the other hand, creates a barrier between us and others. It leads us to place people into rigid categories based on their actions or words. This limited view prevents us from seeing human complexity and cultivating compassion. A Buddhist practice that helps dissolve these emotions is forgiveness meditation. In this meditation, you visualize the person who has caused you pain and mentally say, "I release both you and myself from this pain. May you find peace." This act of forgiveness is not about justifying harmful behavior, but about freeing ourselves from the emotional burden we carry. By letting go of anger and judgment, we regain power over our emotions. This enables us to interact with the world more consciously and compassionately. True emotional freedom arises when we realize we don't have to carry the weight of others' negativity. This release paves the way for us to cultivate something even more transformative, loving kindness, which can dissolve even the densest energies. At the heart of Buddhism lies the practice of metta, or loving kindness, a powerful force capable of dissolving negativity and transforming our relationship with the world. Metta is the sincere wish for the well-being of all beings, including those who challenge us. When we cultivate this quality, we create an energy of peace and acceptance that can ease even the most difficult relationships. When dealing with toxic people, our first reaction is often resistance or self-protection. But the practice of metta invites us to go beyond these automatic responses. It teaches us that even in the face of negative behavior, we can still wish for that person to find peace and freedom from their own suffering. This wish isn't just for their benefit but also for ours, as it frees our hearts from the weight of resentment. The practice of metta begins with meditation. Close your eyes and silently repeat phrases like, "May I be at peace. May I be safe. May I be happy." Gradually, extend these intentions to others, including those with whom you have difficulties. Say mentally, "May you be at peace. May you be safe. May you be happy." This practice may seem challenging at first, especially when thinking of someone who has caused you pain. But as you repeat these phrases, even without emotion at first, you begin to soften the internal barriers you hold against that person. It's not about approving their behavior, but about cultivating a space in your heart that isn't dominated by hatred or resentment. Over time, metta creates a shift in how we relate to others and ourselves. Difficult interactions become less draining because we no longer allow ourselves to be consumed by negative emotions. Instead, we become a source of calm and balance, radiating energy that benefits both us and those around us. Completing this process of transformation is essential to integrating all the teachings presented and moving forward with purpose and serenity in the face of any challenge. Each of these teachings invites us to look inward while also responding more consciously and generously to the world around us. True peace, as Buddhism reminds us, is not found in the absence of difficult people but in the inner strength we cultivate when dealing with them. Through these practices, we can build a safe space within ourselves where the suffering of others doesn't control us and where we can respond with wisdom, compassion, and tranquility. Remember, even when external circumstances are challenging, true peace comes from within. May this journey of self-discovery and healing be a constant source of transformation and growth in your life. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn, evolve, and get closer to your true essence. By applying these teachings, you will not only transform your interactions with difficult people, but also create a healthier and more harmonious environment around you. And so, we move forward, with confidence in our ability to grow and be more compassionate, both with others and with ourselves.